What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So in my last video you seen that I was being frustrated in Project Mixed Up Boss here. I run into a situation where I didn't have the right size bolts, and it gave me an idea for a video, and that's things that will $20 you to death when you're building a hot rod. And I've been thinking about this for a while because it seems no matter how well you seem to be prepared, you will always run into something that will cost you just a little bit more. Now, the majority of the time, it's this right here. It is bolts. You'll find that you're putting something together and the bolt will be too long or too short or not the right size. And you know, that's really irritating. But I want to get into the fact that this video is really for new guys getting into the hobby of hot rodding. Most of my old guys out there that follow me and watch my videos who do this type of thing, they understand where I'm coming from, because 9 times out of 10 they've been in the same shoes that I've been in. And that's something that all gearheads deal with. And what happens over time of doing this hot rodding thing, you learn what things to hoard and what things that you can just let go. For me, my biggest thing that I keep is extra bolts. If I run across bolts, I will put them in organized cans, 1/4 20, 5/16, 3/8, and I just keep stockpiling bolts. I've even went to yard sales in the past and bought random bolts and sorted them out and put them in my little containers, because while I didn't have a use for it at the time that I bought it, it's maybe 2 years down the road I'm working on Casper or working on one of my buddy's cars and we need a unique bolt, and I can dig through those little bins and find a lot of times what I actually need. But that's not always the case. Now, for people getting into this hot rodding thing, this mostly applies to, I would say, older cars. Cars that were from, say, the 70s and below, because you may end up wanting to add a fuel pump, electric fuel pump, or electric fans, or add different circuits to the cars. And you're going to be changing things that wasn't there as original equipment, and that can add to extra cost. One thing that's a big hitter is electrical stuff. Primary wire is expensive. You know, you're running say a new circuit for some electric fans or a fuel pump, and you need a certain type of connector, or you need a certain gauge wire, and you realize you don't have it, and you have to go to the parts store to get what you need, and next thing you know, you're walking out of there with a $20, $30, $40, $50 bill that you wasn't anticipating on. Same way with plumbing fuel systems. I have all sorts of random stainless steel braided hoses and ends and fittings that I've collected over the years, because you never know when you might need one of these fittings. You might be running a fuel system on your car and realize that you have a 90-degree fitting when you need a straight, or vice versa. And a lot of times you can go over there to your scrap pile and get what you actually need right then, because if you're like me, you pretty much have to order that stuff online. We used to have a store here local to me called Pep Boys that actually had a small speed shop in it, and you could go get those little AN fittings, but now that's gone to the wayside. And so something as simple as a AN fitting can set you back a couple days of waiting and the extra cost involved. You know, newer cars today, let's say if you're a young guy and you're getting into a fuel injected car, and then this is something that someone posted on my comments, and I've been down this road, you know, because I grew up in the fuel injected world, and I went down that road, and now I'm back on carburetors, and you know, it is what it is. but your sensors associated with the fuel injection system can get quite expensive. You know, let's say you're building a car up and you need, your mass airflow meter goes bad. It's easy to drop a couple $100s on a good mass airflow meter. Your coolant temp sensors, your IAC, all of those things add up, oxygen sensors. So all of these different components will nickel and dime you to death if you're not careful. And it's something that when you get into the hobby you don't really think about, because all you see is the end result, and that is your hot rod being complete. You think about just the money that's going to be spent on the engine, drivetrain, and so on and so forth, but you don't think about the little things that will get you every time that you have to go in the door of the parts store. You know, spark plugs, plug wires, oil and filter. Even if you're outside working on just a water pump or something and you realize that your RTV has dried up, this Right Stuff tube I think is about $8 now. And so all of those things add up in the grand scheme of the total expense of what you're actually working on. And so my advice to any new guy out there is to start looking at what you're working on and pick the appropriate bolts and start trying to stockpile those bolts any way that you can. Because when you go to Lowe's and buy a grade 8 bolt, you'll get maybe 2 bolts for $2, and that's really expensive. I can't explain how good the benefits are of having a good bolt bin with separated bolts when you actually need it. When you're able to just, when you're working on something, realize that I need a 1/4 bolt, and just to be able to walk over to the shelf, open the can or the drawer or whatever it may be, and pull that 1/4 bolt out and go back straight to work without missing a beat. That is priceless when it comes to hot rodding. So I hope you get something out of this little video. Like I said, it's just very irritating to know, and know this, even long as I've been doing this, and I'm sure all of my other viewers will agree, no matter what you're working on, you will still always run into the occasional thing that just really irks you, like these timing cover bolts did for me on Project Mixed Up Boss. That's going to set you back that $20. But the moral of the story is, try to prepare for the best that you can by saving those bolts and doing the small things, and in the end you'll be a lot happier. So until next time, this is Andy from Unity Motorsports Garage. I'll catch you later.